Hey guys, Augiesaint here and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I want to share with you my freeze ice shards leveling build guide for Sorc. I will be using this from 1 to 50 on my playthrough on the Sorc for the very first time, as I believe it's quite strong with a lot of control and freezing, and we also get access to the legendary aspect for ice shards in the very first zone, Fractured Peaks, as well as our class quest starting in Fractured Peaks at level 15 where we can get our enhancements. So I really suggest you start there as a Sorc, as I believe you can kind of go anywhere once we have the full game. You don't have to follow Fractured Peaks storyline, you could start in Skull's Glen or anywhere else. So I highly suggest going through Fractured Peaks. It's going to be familiar to you if you played the beta as well, so you should be able to power straight through it, get the legendary aspect, and be on your way in the leveling process. So if that sounds good, stick around for the video. But before we get into that, if you guys could drop a sub, it helps me out so much, and liking this video too. I appreciate every single one of you beautiful people. And without further ado, let's hop into the build guide. Quick disclaimer, just remember I've been tested this on the beta and the Silver Slam, but any of this could change on the launch, or there could be a day one patch or something like that, so just keep that in mind. But overall, nothing major should really affect this build, as it is just a leveling build really to help you through. So let's get into it. I have this over here with D4 builds that I'm going to share with you guys. I'll chuck it down below in the description. So let's start it out. We pick up Frostbolt because it's really good basic attack, giving you the chilling, and this is all really going to focus on freeze skills. You're going to chill enemies, make them vulnerable, and CC them. Just going to make your leveling process a lot easier, so that's why we're going this route. So Frostbolt, we pick up Enhanced Frostbolt, Glinting Frostbolt for the mana, because mana is your biggest enemy, especially while leveling and you don't really have like any other ways of generating mana on your gear and aspects and things like that. So we're going to go with that. And then we want to pick up ice shards, the bread and butter of the build, with enhanced ice shards and greater ice shards. While you have a barrier active, casts of ice shards treat enemies as if they were frozen. And that's really nice because it does more damage and everything. You could also switch to this one over there, so it's really whichever one you decide to go with, but we are going with this barrier generation down below, so we should have a barrier up quite often. Not like all the time like the broken build back in the day, but quite often we should have a barrier going on. And also we want to pick up Potent Warding, but this will pick up much later down, so you want to actually start out and then just go down. Yeah, you get the first 2 points and then ice shards, and you level up ice shards, you come back and get your Glinting Frostbolt later down the line. So just keep progressing through all the way until you pretty much unlock everything, and then you want to start coming back and picking up these passives. So let's go further down the tree. You want to pick up Teleport with Enhanced Teleport and Simmering Teleport. It gives you the damage reduction, which is really huge for you, especially through the leveling. And maybe it doesn't feel like that early on, but trust me, later on you will need the defense. Yeah, quite squishy on Sorc, but most of the time you should be killing them or freezing them before they get to you anyway. And then Glass Cannon, I know it makes you take more damage right after I say you need damage reduction, but really the trade-off is definitely worth it. You get a lot more increased damage and a little bit more damage taken, and you have all the defensive things anyway, so really good no-brainer on that one. I always pick this up first, so when you are going down the tree, this is the one I suggest picking up first and then coming back later for these other traits. We pick up 1 point in Ice Barrier, Enhanced Ice Armor, and Shimmering Ice Armor, just to give you, for every time enemies attack you, they have a chance of becoming frozen, and then frozen procs a lot of your other stuff, as well as this ice shards. We're actually going to put this in our enchantment. Ice shards automatically conjure and fly towards frozen enemies. So the more frozen enemies, the more ice shards flying around, the more damage, because of the aspect we have. It's just a whole mess of freezing everything and exploding everything, and it's beautiful and great, and I love it. So we're going with Frost Nova. This was nerfed a little bit, I believe, but it's not that bad now. It's really strong still. Killing enemies frozen by Frost Nova reduces its cooldown by 1 second up to 4 seconds per cast. So you could take it down from 24 seconds all the way down to 20, and if you have cooldown reduction on your gear and everything, it does come up quite often, so really strong on that. And then you have this one over here. Frost Nova makes enemies vulnerable for 4 seconds, increases to 6 seconds against bosses. Really nice when you actually get to bosses. Just Frost Nova, I don't know if it freezes all bosses, but it does at least give them the vulnerable, so they take more damage. Really nice in that. We come down, we pick up 1 point in Align the Elements for the damage reduction, and then using a cooldown grants 10% of your maximum life as a barrier for 2 seconds. This used to be really busted with the old CM build where you use the Ice Blades and like just keep spamming all your buttons with cooldowns everywhere, but that is nerfed a little bit now as Ice Blades aren't as strong, although you could drop Frost Nova and pick up Ice Blades. If you do want to do that, you pick up Ice Blades, Enhance Ice Blades and Summon Ice Blades. 20% of Enhance Ice Blades cooldown reduction is applied to your other skills. So really nice if you want to try and play with that. But that's a whole different other build that you really got to change to and try and use cooldowns on all your slots. So I would say just stick with this. Keep your Frost Nova easy, set and forget. And then we come on down to Blizzard. Now Blizzard you could really swap out to Frozen Orb if you wanted to, but I'm going to go with Blizzard as it gives us mana. With this one, Blizzard deals 25 increased damage to frozen enemies. Frozen enemies should be all over the place, and then while you have an active Blizzard, your core skills cost 10% less mana, with your Ice Shards being a core skill. So you can just sit there and shoot Ice Shards even more, and then this will freeze stuff and vulnerable stuff, and it's just a whole mess. Like I'm saying, everything's frozen, everything's vulnerable, everything's melting away with ice. It's so hot that it's cold, you know what I mean. And then we pick up Icy Veil. Your barriers have 10% increased duration. Frost skills have up to a 6% chance to instantly freeze. Really nice because pretty much all your skills are frost. Yeah, literally all your skills are frost except teleport being electric or lightning damage. Cold Frost, while you have a barrier active, you apply 16% more chill. So your barrier active should be with your ice armor, has a 20-second cooldown, so it's not that long. And then you also have that one from protection whenever you use cooldowns. So your cooldowns is ice armor, frost nova, and teleport. So those are 3 things there, giving you 6 seconds and then another 6 seconds, I believe it was. Yeah, so you have 12 seconds of cooldowns at some point, and then they'll obviously be cooling down as well. So it should be up quite often. And then we come on down to Permafrost. Frost skills deal increased damage to elites. Really nice, max that out. You deal 12% increased cold damage to vulnerable enemies. Pretty much everything because of the rest of your skills. And then Hoarfrost, you deal 9% increased damage to chilled enemies and 18% increased damage to frozen enemies. And enemies are chilled before they're frozen. Once they get frozen, then this gets doubled to the 18%. So just more damage on frozen and chilled things. And last but not least, Frigid Breeze. Cold damage against vulnerable enemies has up to a 20% chance to generate 15 mana. Mana being your biggest enemy. So there you go, more mana on vulnerable enemies, which pretty much all of them are going to be anyway. And we'll pick up the Avalanche passive Lucky Hit. Your frost skills have up to a 10% chance to make your next cast of Ice Shards, Frozen Orb, or Blizzard consume no mana and deal 40% increased damage. Chance is doubled against vulnerable enemies. Now this is really strong. I mean, vulnerable enemies should be everywhere. Your frost skills, your Frozen Orb, Blizzard, Ice Shards. Frozen Orb, we're actually going to pick up 1 point at some point. I would say just drop maybe a level in Ice Shards, or we could drop levels out of Potent Warding, and you put 1 point into Frozen Orb to actually use it for your enhancement. Whenever you cast a non-basic skill, you have a 20% chance to launch a Frozen Orb at nearby enemies, and this one actually tracks onto enemies and follows them around, so it's much stronger than actually casting Frozen Orb yourself, as Frozen Orb does damage along its path, and then when it explodes at the end, it does more damage as well. So you really have to line it up quite well. But then picking that up as a passive over there makes it really strong. Or you could have Fireball as a passive either. That's why I say just take 1 point out of there when you either put in Frozen Orb or Fireball. But later on, once you get the option of both, I would suggest having 1 point in Ice Shards and 1 point in Frozen Orb. If you are playing with a group, however, drop either one of these and then pick up Fireball, as Fireball does go to your allies as well. So this will proc it there. When you kill an enemy, they explode in on a Fireball for 50% of its damage. That just clears AoE really, really fast. If you're playing in a group, it does count towards all enemies, even ones they kill. So really strong, and don't forget about that. So that is the build overall. And then I have over here for you guys the aspects. This one, where is it? Piercing Cold being the most important one. Ice Shards pierce 4 to 3 times, dealing 20 to 25% less damage per subsequent enemy hit. And this is found in Dead Man's Dredge in the Fractured Peaks. So in the first zone, when you start out, you find it straight away. And then I have marked some other ones for you guys that you can pick up once you get to those places, or maybe you get them while you are leveling. A legendary drops with them on, because obviously these can drop from all kinds of legendaries, or you can go and get them from the dungeons. So when you freeze an enemy, there is a 20 to 35% chance they become vulnerable, which you'll be freezing often, and they'll be vulnerable most of the time anyway. But I mean, if you get it and you can fit it in somewhere, why not? Aspect of the Frozen Orb. Frozen Orb stays in place after reaching its destination and explodes 2 additional times for 20 to 30% of its damage. This one is really strong if you have the Frozen Orb in your enhancements, because it does work on that one and count towards that one. Aspect of Control, you deal 30 to 40% more damage to immobilized, stunned, or frozen enemies. They should be frozen quite often. You get that in Augiesaint, or you could just find it randomly. Hopefully you get lucky. Aspect of Expectant, attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill, your basic skill being your Frostbolt. So spam that to build up your mana, and then you spam Ice Shards away and just mow them all down. Deal 15 to 25% increased damage while you have a barrier active. You should have a barrier active quite often, so this one, unfortunately you can't specific farm it from any dungeons, but maybe get lucky and you actually get it. I did get this dropping a lot throughout all the betas, and it seems to be pretty common, so hopefully you get that one, as I feel that's a really big damage boost to you. When you cast Blizzard, it'll periodically spawn exploding ice spikes that deal % damage. Your ice spikes deal 25% increased damage to frozen enemies. So another strong one there just to look out for if you actually come across it. And then last but not least, we have you deal 1 to 20% increased damage to vulnerable enemies while you have a barrier. Comes from Dry Steps. So once you get there, or yet again, if you get lucky, then you can add it into your build. There's a bunch of cool aspects there. But like I said, the most important one being the Piercing Cold. So that's all I really have for you guys on the Sorc build. You want to get all your frozen skills and everything. It's pretty flexible. The main points really being Ice Shards and the passives, I guess. Yeah, everything else is really changeable to whatever you want. If you want to go with Frozen Orb instead of Frost Nova, or if you want to go with Ice Blades, play around with it. But just keep to this kind of... you definitely want all the frozen passives. They're really, really strong. And as well, Frostbolt. I don't actually like Arc Lash. I know there's a lot of lightning builds out there, and Arc Lash is really powerful. I just don't like how it's like really short range. I like to be a long range Sorc. That's like how I usually play things, mages from far range, so I don't really like Arc Lash that much. That's why I will be getting this build and then converting over to my fire build, which I will update and post for you guys once we get to level 50 and further on in the game. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please drop a like and a sub to the channel. It helps me out so much, and I'll catch you beautiful people in the next one. Augiesaint out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying